You finally exited consulting and went to a corporate. Amazing. Now you got a chill lifestyle, still making decent money, and your career is fulfilling.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
You heard it. Something ain't right. Sure, consulting is a tough career, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows once you exit consulting. Some of it you may have anticipated, but other things you didn't. And in this video, we'll give you an overview of what you might struggle with the most in your new corporate role. Brief disclaimer, we focus on corporate exits, not something like private equity, which is similar to consulting. Alright, let's get into it. The first realization you're gonna make is the lack of talent and drive at the corporate. Let's be honest, the level of talent at the MBB firms is very high. If you look at a passionate graduate with a stellar academic career, you can assume that that person is driven and wants to make an impact. Arguably, fresh consultants don't have a lot of experience, but nonetheless, they're capable and they're always willing to go the extra mile, which is also expected from them. But how does it look like at a corporate? Well, you could argue that there are super capable people there with much more experience than any junior consultant, and you'd be right. But at the same time, you have a huge number of freeloaders. This is our own experience, and anyone we ever talk to will readily admit that his firm is full of slackers. Now, this isn't even all that dramatic. Many tasks in such corporates don't need anyone going the extra mile, and so it's totally fine to have employees that just want to clock in, do their job, and drop the pen at 5 p.m. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're from consulting, this lack of drive, or sometimes also lack of talent, can be very frustrating. Imagine you have a cool project in mind. Say, you want to introduce Gen AI into the organization. You have a meeting with your team to distribute the tasks. You pitch how exciting the project will be for the organization. And when you ask who wants to work on the project on top of his or her regular tasks, silence. We've faced such situations, and it's not exactly what you want to see. In consulting, a bunch of people would step forward and work on it right away. Firstly, they want to learn something, and secondly, they also see this as an opportunity to further progress in their career. At a corporate, you really need to convince people to take on extra tasks and beg them to buy in and help you. This can be very frustrating and can really slow down your drive and ambition. Next, we have the slow pace. In consulting, you're in a rush all the time. If you're not chasing deliverables and deadlines on a project, you might be working on a last-minute project proposal, or you're organizing an office event while writing an industry white paper. So you're constantly busy producing output, and time flies. And you get a lot done in a short amount of time. Developing the 2030 strategy for a grocery retailer? No problem. Log 3 consultants into a room at the client, working 80 hours per week for 6 weeks, and you will have a strategy document. At a corporate, this looks a bit different. Even if you're driven and you want to have an impact, the wheels at a corporate turn slowly. Aside from the lack of talent and drive we mentioned before, the norm at a corporate is that you're not working 100% of your time on a certain project. So you might just have a bunch of people dedicating 20% of their capacity each to the project. And if they can't do 20% in 1 week, they usually won't make up for it with overtime. So everything just takes longer. That's also one of the main reasons why companies hire consultants. They simply don't have the resources to complete fast-paced projects in a short period of time. So if you're thinking about joining a corporate, be warned that you'll likely not achieve as much in a short amount of time as you're used to from your consulting days. Another factor is that you don't feel like you have much of an impact anymore. This may just be a personal perception and it depends on the circumstances, but there is something to it. As a consultant, you usually work on projects that have the highest organizational priority. Especially in strategy consulting, there will be a C-level executive who's sponsoring the project, and often the CEO directly. So whatever you're working on, from growth strategy to cost-cutting program, that's what the CEO will be talking about at the annual general meeting or the next investor conference. And some of the big projects will even make the news. If you're the project manager of something like that, or even just a junior analyst on the team, that's pretty cool. Of course, as an individual consultant, you only play a small role, but you will have the feeling that you're contributing to something big. At a corporate, however, you won't get much of that anymore. It really depends on the exact position you have though. As a chief of staff to the CEO, you might be closer to the action. Likewise, if you exited consulting in a more senior role and are now the head of strategy, then of course, you might have an immediate impact. But leaving consulting after 2 years and joining the in-house strategy team of a corporate, that can be a rude awakening. You're not necessarily working on anything that's C-level priority, but maybe just a mini project that the senior strategy manager had in mind. And more often than not, there isn't even a huge transformational project going on at the firm. So there won't be any consultants in sight, and you might also just find yourself working on some housekeeping stuff. Next we got corporate politics. Consulting only becomes political internally once you try and make partner. Before that point, you only know corporate politics from your clients. Usually at the start of a consulting project, you have an internal kickoff meeting with only the consulting team. In this meeting, the senior partner or partner will explain all the political dynamics at the client. To give you an idea what we mean by that, here's how such an introduction may go down.
So, the CEO, Kevin, really needs to make a strong statement with this project, as the current COO, Bob, is setting himself up to succeed Kevin in case his contract is not extended. So be prepared that Bob will not be supportive of this project. It could very well be that James, who's working under Bob, will try and derail the project by trying to direct our attention to topics that won't have a large impact. Besides Bob, there's also Jennifer, who's been a protege of Kevin. After the last strategy conference, Jennifer was doing some afterwork at Kevin's house in the Hamptons, while Kevin's wife was busy with a tennis teacher in Cancun.
So as you can see, consultants already know that the daily job at a corporate can be political, especially as you move up the ranks. This can be very frustrating when joining from a consulting firm, as you're just trying to have the highest impact with your project, making the client, especially the project sponsor, happy. You're not used to people delaying projects or not cooperating with you due to corporate politics. In consulting, people are usually extremely helpful, at least to the degree that their own super busy schedule permits. If you're helpful to others and provide good ideas or expertise, you become the go-to guy, which ultimately helps your own standing in the firm. Another factor here is that you don't need to tiptoe around the issue and be politically correct. As a consultant, you can often communicate your recommendation without worrying what it means for some middle manager down the line. To illustrate what we mean, picture this. If you're suggesting to increase automation in IT to decrease the costs, you don't really care that the head of IT will have a 20% smaller team and as a result, less power in the organization. If it's the objectively right thing to do, you will recommend it. But if you're working at a corporate and the head of IT is your colleague and you also need him for other, potentially higher impact projects, you'll likely think twice before you propose something that he won't like. Another factor is the salary and career progression. You can make a really good salary in consulting, but that's partly explained by the fact that you work your ass off. We made dedicated videos on both of those topics, the salary as well as the working hours. So if you're exiting consulting, it's not uncommon that you take a pay cut, but you typically do so consciously because you trade in your great salary for a better lifestyle, and that's all fine. What you realize though, once you join a corporate, is that your salary and career progression has become way less dynamic. In consulting, you get promoted every 2 years or so, and a promotion often comes with a nice pay bump of at least 30% or maybe 50%. In fact, if everything goes well, you can become a partner in less than 10 years and make 7 figures before you're 35. Sure, that's tough, but if you can grind it out and bring in the business, there's no one ahead of you who's blocking a position that you want to fill. You're effectively creating your own position, which is pretty cool. And this is what you won't find in most corporates. You simply can't be promoted as quickly and consistently. If you're in a team and the head of the team is 40 years old, you might be stuck behind him for the next 10 or 20 years. There's no clear or standardized pathway for you to become a head of a team or the head of the department. That's when you need to make lateral moves and maybe even play some politics to get ahead. And even just thinking about the grind and the political maneuvering it takes to eventually reach the C-level at 45 years of age, that's rough. Lastly, we have the support systems. That's everything you need to make your day-to-day job easier. This might be different across consulting firms, but at the top firms, it's also top-notch. No matter what you need, the firm got you covered. You're at the client and your laptop breaks down, pretty sure you get a new one in less than 24 hours with all your files intact. You need someone to do research for you? Well, how about an entire army of researchers in the back office? You need someone to redesign your PowerPoint presentation? Alright, you have designers around the globe, available 24/7. You need translation support or proofreading? No problem. You need support with admin tasks? Well, there are assistants which can help in scheduling meetings, organizing your travel, booking restaurants, and maybe even doing your expenses. All of that is super nice, and everyone across the entire back office is super motivated and committed to doing a great job. At a corporate though, you may feel like you're lost. First of all, corporates are more complex and can never be as streamlined. Then, the company might have undergone a few corporate mergers. Now the IT systems don't communicate well with each other. Your equipment often sucks, and your IT support might be terrible as well, ignoring or not resolving your issue for weeks. And all the other things that make your job easier, they're either not there or people just don't care as much, which can sometimes be a real pain. And that's basically it. As you can see, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when joining a corporate. The lack of talent, the slower pace, and the corporate politics are things to get used to. But now it's your turn. Did you already exit consulting to a corporate? And what was your experience? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and activate the bell for more content like this. Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or if there's a topic you'd like us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.